Hi, good day. This is Zharla, Mabbu, and Rodrigo, and I'm here to talk about the feminist therapy from a multicultural and social justice perspective. For the topic outline, we have strengths from a diversity perspective, shortcomings from a diversity perspective, summary and evaluation, contributions of feminist therapy, and limitations and criticisms of feminist therapy. For the intended learning outcomes, we have know and understand the strengths and shortcomings of feminist therapy from a diversity perspectives, recognize the contributions of feminist therapy, and know the limitations and criticisms of feminist therapy. Strengths from a diversity perspective. Feminist therapy has the most in common with multicultural and social justice perspectives of all the theoretical approaches to counseling and psychotherapy. Multicultural approaches have historically evolved in response to societal oppression, discrimination, and marginalization faced by people of color. Multicultural counseling has become more inclusive over time, and today's multicultural counselors work to address inequities caused not only by racism but also by other isms that limit full participation in society. The goal of social justice counseling is to empower individuals while also confronting injustice and inequality in society. Although multicultural, feminist, and social justice counseling have been viewed as distinct models, they share many characteristics. Within the counseling context, all three approaches emphasize the importance of promoting social, political, and environmental changes. All three theories advocate for an egalitarian relationship in which the counselor and client co-construct the client's problems from a context perspective and collaborate in setting goals and selecting strategies. All three approaches reject the disease model of psychopathology. They see clients' problems as manifestations of their experiences of living in an unjust society rather than as having an intrapsychic origin. Each approach embraces the personal is political principle equally. None of the approaches is based solely on individual change. Instead, they all emphasize direct action for social change as part of the therapist's role. Culture is the sociopolitical reality of people's lives, including how the privileged dominant group treats those who are different from them. Feminist therapists believe that psychotherapy is inextricably linked to culture, and they are increasingly being joined by thoughtful leaders in the field of counseling practice in this belief. Today, feminist voices can be found in all cultures. The women's movement, the multicultural movement, and more recently the social justice movement have brought to light the negative effects of discrimination and oppression on their targets as well as those who discriminate and oppress. Feminist therapists advocate for social change, particularly in the areas of inequality, power dynamics in relationships, the right to self determination, the freedom to pursue a career outside or inside the home, and the right to an education. When working with women who do not share these beliefs, this agenda may cause some issues. Remer recognizes as a shortcoming of the approach the practice of critically evaluating societal values and structures that subordinate certain groups. Therapists risk imposing their own values if they do not fully understand and respect the cultural values of their clients from various groups. According to Remer, a potential danger inherent in feminist counseling is that counselors' values will overly influence or conflict with clients' values. Being aware of the cultural context is especially important when feminist therapists work with women from cultures that support culturally prescribed roles that keep women subservient or are based on patriarchy. In order to avoid the potential flaw of imposing cultural values on a client, therapists must first understand how their own cultural perspectives are likely to influence their interventions, especially when working with culturally diverse clients. Summary and evaluation. The origins of feminist therapy can be traced back to the women's movements of the late 1800s and 1960s when women banded together to express their dissatisfaction with the restrictive nature of traditional female roles. Feminist therapy arose largely from women's recognition that traditional models of therapy have fundamental limitations due to the inherent bias of earlier theorists. Feminist therapy emphasizes the following ideas. We have viewing problems from a sociopolitical and cultural standpoint rather than from an individual standpoint, recognizing that clients are experts on their own lives and know what is best for them, attempting to establish a egalitarian therapeutic relationship through the process of self-disclosure and informed consent, demystifying the therapeutic process by involving the client as much as possible in all phases of assessment and treatment, resulting in increased client empowerment. Understanding and appreciating diverse women's lives and perspectives, recognizing that gender does not exist in isolation from other aspects of identity, putting traditional methods as assessing women's psychological health to the test, highlighting the therapist's role as both an advocate and a facilitator, and encouraging clients to participate in social action to address oppressive environmental aspects. Feminist therapy strives for both personal and social transformation. The theory is not static, it is constantly evolving and maturing. The main goal is to replace the current patriarchal system with feminist consciousness, resulting in a society that values equality in relationships, diversity, interdependence over dependence, and encourages both men and women to define themselves rather than being defined by societal demands. Feminist practice is diverse rather than a single and unified approach to psychotherapy. As feminist therapy evolved, it became more self critical and diverse. Feminist therapists share a number of fundamental assumptions and rules. They engage in appropriate self disclosure. They make their values and beliefs explicit so that the therapy process is clear. They establish egalitarian roles with clients. They work toward client empowerment. They emphasize the commonalities among women while honoring their diverse life experiences. And they all have an agenda to effect social change. Through the use of various interventions, feminist therapies are committed to actively breaking down the hierarchy of power in the therapeutic relationship. Some of these strategies are unique to feminist therapy, such as gender role analysis and intervention, power analysis, taking on the role of advocate in challenging conventional attitudes toward appropriate roles for women, and encouraging clients to participate in social action. Bibliotherapy, assertive training, cognitive restructuring, reframing and relabeling, counselors' self disclosure, role playing, identifying and challenging untested beliefs, and journal writing are among the other therapeutic strategies borrowed from various therapy models. Individual therapy, couples counseling, family therapy, group counseling, and community intervention can all benefit from feminist therapy principles and techniques. Whatever techniques are used, the overarching goals of client empowerment and social transformation. One of the most significant contributions feminists have made to the field of counseling and psychotherapy is to pave the way for gender sensitive practice and an understanding of the impact of cultural context and multiple oppressions. Feminist therapists have raised the awareness of therapists of all theoretical orientations about how social justice issues may affect clients by focusing on our attitudes and biases regarding gender and culture. Feminist therapists, according to Gilbert and Rader, have made significant theoretical and professional advances in counseling practice. Power sharing with clients, cultural critiques of both assessment and treatment approaches, and validation of women and their normative experiences are some of these contributions. Feminist therapists have also made significant contributions by challenging traditional counseling theories and human development models. Most theories attribute the source of problems to individuals rather than external circumstances or the environment. This has resulted in individuals being held responsible for their problems and not fully acknowledging the social and political realities that cause problems. Feminists continue to make an important contribution by reminding us all that the proper focus of therapy should include addressing oppressive factors in society rather than expecting individuals to simply adapt to expected role behaviors. Another significant contribution of the feminist movement has been in the fields of ethics in psychology and counseling practice and ethical decision making in therapy. Child abuse, incest, rape, sexual harassment, and domestic violence were all brought to light by a united feminist voice. When children and women were victims of physical, sexual, and psychological abuse, feminists highlighted the consequences of failing to recognize and intervene. Feminist therapy principles have been applied to supervision, teaching, consultation, ethics, research and theory development, as well as psychotherapy practice. This approach significant strengths include the ability to build community, provide authentic mutual empathic relationships, raise social awareness, and address social injustices. Feminist therapy principles and techniques can be incorporated into many other contemporary therapy models and vice versa. The therapeutic relationship is seen as egalitarian by both feminist and Adlerian therapists. Both feminist and person centered therapists value therapy's authenticity, modeling, and self disclosure. Empowerment is at the heart of both approaches. When it comes to making decisions about one's destiny, existential and feminist therapists speak the same language. Both emphasize choosing one self rather than living a life dictated by society. Despite feminist therapists' criticism of psychoanalysis as a sexist orientation, a number of feminist therapists believe psychoanalysis can be an effective approach to helping women. Object relations theory can assist clients in examining internalized object representations based on their relationships with their parents. An examination of unconscious learning about women's roles through the mother daughter relationship may be included in therapy to provide insights into why gender roles are so deeply ingrained and difficult to change. The goal of both Gestalt therapy and feminist therapy is to increase the client's awareness of personal power. Gestalt therapy can also help a woman develop a stronger sense of herself as a powerful individual. In many ways, the dialogic, relational, and collaborative model of Gestalt therapy fits well with feminist philosophy. Cognitive behavioral therapies and feminist therapy are compatible in the sense that they both see the therapeutic relationship as a collaborative partnership in which the client is in charge of setting goals and selecting change strategies. Both approaches are dedicated to demystifying therapy and to empowering clients to take charge of their own lives. Both the cognitive behavior therapist and the feminist therapist perform a variety of information giving and teaching functions in order for clients to become active participants in the therapy process. Limitations and criticisms of feminist therapy. Therapist self-disclosure and the sharing of personal and professional beliefs may overly influence the beliefs of a person in treatment. Therapists who are feminists do not take a neutral stance. They believe therapy is a value-oriented process. They emphasize the importance of counselors clarifying their personal and professional values, as well as being aware of the potential impact these values may have on clients. However, there is a risk that therapists will exert undue influence on clients, particularly those who lack a strong sense of their own values. To reduce the risk of value imposition, feminist therapists must remain aware of their own values and explicitly share these values with clients in an appropriate, timely, and respectful manner. A focus on unexamined choices of the person in treatment may put the therapist at risk for imposing choices or decisions that the individual is not ready for. Feminist therapists draw attention to clients' unexamined choices, but they must respect those choices as long as they are informed. Once clients understand the impact of gender and cultural factors on their choices, the therapist must be cautious about providing specific directions for client development. Feminist therapists are committed to assisting clients in weighing the costs and benefits of their current life choices, but they should not pressure clients to make changes that they believe are out of their reach. A strong focus on environmental factors may detract from the ability of a person in treatment to take personal responsibility for problems. Viewing the source of a client's problem as being in the environment, on the other hand, may contribute to the client failing to take personal responsibility to act in the face of an unfair world. Even if external factors are largely to blame for her problems, a client can make some internal challenges or changes. If the client is to find a way to take action in her own life, therapists must balance an exploration of the client's outer and inner worlds. Evidence based research on the efficacy of feminist therapy is lacking. Because feminist therapists do not take a neutral stance, they must identify any sources of bias and work to redesign or eliminate bias aspects of any theories or techniques they employ. This is a difficult task and it should be viewed as an ongoing one. Training that is often provided only sporadically and in a non systematic manner, and a lack of quality control are factors that impede the growth of feminist therapy. Because no credentialing organization grants official status as a qualified feminist therapist, formalized training and credentialing must be addressed in the future. Furthermore, there is a lack of evidence based research on the efficacy of feminist therapy, as well as an understanding of feminist therapy as an integrative approach that can inform therapeutic practice for counselors or various theoretical orientations. And that ends my report, and I hope you learned something. Thank you for listening.